Now to this. Kamala Harris planning to look back at 2024, but could another presidential run still be in her future? The former vice president announced the release of her new book, 107 Days, a look at the shortest presidential campaign in modern history, while saying she won't run for governor of her home state of California next year. That still leaves the door open for 2028. Here to break it all down, partner at Mad Global Strategy and former Senator Vance senior advisor Jay Chabria and Democratic pollster and former Clinton advisor Doug Schoen. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Doug, are you surprised she's not running for governor next year?
Well, given that the book title suggests that she's going to try to explain away why she lost an election that for all rights and reasons she was favored early on to win, I think what she's saying is she's running for president. She doesn't want to have the risk of what happened to Richard Nixon in 1962 after he lost for president, which is losing for governor of California. I think this all means she's all in on 2028.
Jay, we're already hearing some grumbling that if she's going to blame Biden for her loss in the book, watch out, they're going to drop the hammer on her. What about that?
Oh, I think that's the most fascinating part of this whole story, and I truly hope that happens. But look, I think Doug's probably right. I think she probably is going to run for president. And as a Republican, I hope so. I might buy 10 or 12 copies because I want to keep her in the news as much as possible. Look, even the title of this book is kind of like an excuse, 107 days. She did great for 30 days, but the longer people heard her, the worse she did. And Mike, the other really interesting thing about this is she hired a novelist, a fiction writer, to help her write this book, as opposed to a nonfiction writer, because I don't think the American people would actually ever buy the nonfiction, the truth of what happened. She's going to have to really delve into the world of fiction to actually sell this book.
All right, gents, topic 2. Former Biden Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Bruce Reed is set to face the House Oversight Committee next week. It comes after 2 more aides were questioned this week. Doug, first to you, where do you see this investigation heading?
Well, I think the Republicans are trying to get at a question that so far hasn't been answered, which is who was in charge, what were the president's cognitive powers, how were decisions made, and basically, was the president literally and metaphorically asleep at the switch? A number of the aides have not been fully forthcoming. I hope Bruce Reed, who I know from the Clinton years, will be. He's always been an honest guy in my dealings. So I'd love to hear Bruce's answers. I think the American people are entitled to know who was running the show, what role did the president play, how was his cognitive and physical health impacting his ability to serve.
What is your assessment of this probe at this point, Jay?
Well, look, I think Doug's right. People need to know. They want to know. I think this is really interesting. Now, for your viewers, who is this gentleman? He was the architect. He was President Biden's deputy policy director and the architect of the big tech policy and their AI policy. He was essentially the chief censorship officer for Joe Biden. Do we really think he's going to be forthcoming? He's also been described as family. Look, he was the political he was a political blood relative to Joe Biden. I think you're not going to get very much, but I'd love to see him squirm, and I hope that there's going to be some telling answers because the American public deserves to know.
All right, gents, topic 3. The Senate is in session today, a rare Saturday session after President Trump put some pressure on Senate Majority Leader John Thune, telling him to keep senators in Washington through August to get more of his nominees confirmed. Doug, how does this play out?
Well, I think it plays to the president's advantage. Look, the American people really don't see why our legislators need all this time off. We really don't need an August recess with some 140-odd judges unconfirmed. Whether you like the judges or don't like them, my position is real simple. Let's get our money's worth as taxpayers from our legislators. Let's vote up or down so we have a fully robust judiciary with all empty positions filled, certainly by Labor Day. That makes sense. The president did the right thing.
Jay, you're an old Senate guy. August recess is a pretty sacred thing for the members and the staffers on Capitol Hill. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, I think the president and the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, they're going to play hardball here. Look, they won this election. They want to enact these policies for the American people. And part of enacting the policies is having the right people in place. And, we're 6-7 months away from when the president took office. He deserves to have the people in there. They're going to play hardball. I think there are going to be a lot of senators that are going to be unhappy and have to change some travel plans because they got to get this agenda moving and break up the logjam.
All right. Well, we will follow it all. Pop the popcorn and watch the Senate floor. Jay Chabria, Doug Schoen. Gentlemen, many thanks.